What's going on, everybody? It's Aaron here with High Five Guys, and we are back out here in the sand pits to do another ATV review. This time, it's going to be our first side-by-side. The vehicle we'll be looking at today is the Kubota RTV 500. Kubota is arguably best known for their tractors, a lot of which come equipped with hydrostatic transmissions. One of the unique points of this side-by-side is that it also uses a variable hydrostatic transmission connected to its 500cc gasoline engine, which sets it apart from most of the competition, which tend to use CVT or continuously variable transmissions. On board the Kubota RTV 500, starting at the gauge cluster, you will notice a clock to show you how many hours the vehicle has been in use, and a temperature gauge so that you can manage the heat of the engine. This vehicle, however, is not equipped with either an RPM gauge or a speedometer, although the Kubota logo right there looks like it may have provisions for one of those. Other features on board include a lockable LSD, 2- and 4-wheel drive modes. You also get a 12-volt power supply and 2 cup holders. The styling and design of these RTV 500s resembles the Kawasaki Mule in a lot of ways. And I think it also is set up mostly for work and not as much recreational and like performance use. You can see right here it does have a flippable cargo bed. And I think that'll give us a better look at the engine as well. So let's take a look at that. Let's really get in there. So the engine that they use, I've already gone over that it's 500 cc's, but it is a twin-cylinder fuel-injected engine. And I personally am mostly familiar with the Kubota tractors, which are all diesel. So it'll be interesting to see how this engine holds up over time. I know that the diesel Kubotas that I've used last forever. They are very reliable. And I imagine with this thing only cranking out 15 horsepower, they have it tuned down significantly so that it also will last forever. Taking a look at the front suspension of the RTV 500, you can see a conventional lower control arm with a strut tower up top. In the rear, Kubota markets its suspension as semi-independent. However, from the looks of it, it seems to be a solid rear axle configuration with dual coilovers attached to the upper frame, allowing the bottom frame, which houses the engine, to sort of pivot. The RTV 500 resides within Kubota's midsize utility vehicle lineup, of which there are 2 choices. This, the RTV 500, and the RTV 400. Main differences being only the engines and none of the other components. While this, the 500, receives a twin-cylinder water-cooled engine, the RTV 400 receives a smaller 400cc air-cooled engine. Horsepower differences, however, are quite negligible, as the air-cooled 400cc makes about 14.6 horsepower, and this, the 500, makes 15.8. However, without Kubota listing their torque specifications, it's hard to say how much performance difference there really is between the 2 vehicles. This, the RTV 500, has a twin-cylinder 500cc engine. The 400 is only a single-cylinder, and having driven both single and twin-cylinder vehicles in the past, I could say that most twin-cylinder vehicles actually have quite a bit more torque. One of the interesting stories about this side-by-side is that it was actually won for $40 out of the Reveiw Sealy Tractor Company. They were doing a raffle at one of the local gas stations, and the owner actually bought $40 worth of tickets and won. So, even though you don't see too many of these side-by-sides because most people end up choosing either a Can-Am or a Polaris, you can't complain about winning a side-by-side like this for only $40. Let's take it for a little drive. Here we go. Well, it isn't too fast, and the ride's a little rough. But all in all, it does handle pretty well. It feels like it controls its weight pretty well. It doesn't roll a lot from side to side. And I think that has a lot to do with the suspension, because it does feel pretty stiff, like this is probably set up for doing work. I know it's not meant for performance, and that's usually the first thing my mind goes to, is like looking at the performance of a vehicle. It's time for the quick rundown of the pros and cons on this vehicle. Starting off with the cons. The engine, it doesn't make very much horsepower. It's 500 cc's, it's a 2019 model, it's got electronic fuel injection. It should make more than 15 horsepower. On the pros side though, this thing is heavy, but it doesn't feel like it to drive it. It handles its weight really well. In the corners especially, it doesn't ever feel like it's going to roll over or tip. And you know, that's been a problem with side-by-sides in the past, where like the Yamaha Rhinos, I believe, killed a lot of people, and there was actually like lawsuits about it. Other things like features, that's going to be in the negative zone. The competition, and that's where this thing hits its cons all the time, is the competition is just outperforming Kubota with these side-by-sides. Kubota makes excellent tractors, and I'm sure this thing has Kubota reliability. That's where the pros are going to be at. This thing will probably last forever because it's got an underpowered engine. It's made by Kubota, and having like owned Kubota products in the past, those things last forever if you take good care of them. So pros, this thing has good torque. It'll get the job done that you need it to, and it'll probably last forever. Cons, you know, it's not fast, it doesn't make a whole lot of power, and compared to the competition, it is very weak on features. It feels like an early 2000s Kawasaki Mule is what it feels like. So it's behind the times as far as other side-by-sides go. I think for 40 bucks though, you can't really complain. I'm sure the owner isn't complaining because it's an excellent vehicle for 40 bucks. So that's going to do it for this video, guys. As always, I'm Aaron with High Five, guys. Thank you so much for watching these. I enjoy making these off-road videos, so if you're into them too, hit the like button down in the corner and consider subscribing to the channel because that really helps us out. Thank you so much again for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Have a good one, everybody.